Hey, Brad Clark here from Rigging Dojo. I wanted to go through a couple customization options for these rigs in Blender and also show you a hidden script that will kind of allow you to get back to a default state for the rig. We've had a few comments on Twitter and I just wanted to address a few of those. So one of them was, how do we organize this rig a little bit so it's cleaner to work with? And by default, the rig is just built and switched over to be as much of the default RigOnTheFly settings as possible, just so that we didn't make too many decisions for you. Now, these rigs came from Maya, and in doing so, when you go to edit mode, you can see that we've cleaned up some of the orientation, but there still are some issues with how the bones are aligned, and maybe you want to improve on or adjust those. There are a couple things here I can see that we could change, but again, the RigOnTheFly is customizable, so we'll show you two ways to approach cleaning this up. First, let's address some of the existing rig control system. We have the two layers that are created here automatically by RigOnTheFly. The first layer is the control system. So under rig and settings, you can see that the base bones are on 0. So these are all. This is basically the skin bones, and that gets hidden when it's rigged. The controllers all go to level 1, and then any controllers that are created when you do IKFK switching get placed onto level 2. So here you can see that we've got the legs in IK mode, and the FK controllers are hidden away, right? They're not used. So if we were to switch back, then those would become visible. Now, you can always go in and grab the hand controls and arm controls and move them to another layer if you'd like. Nothing is going to be a problem with that. And then if you go ahead and come over here and switch to IK, for example, it's going to try to stay on those layers. We switch back to FK, and it's going to stick to that layer. So you can organize it how you'd like. Just understand that if you customize it too much and then you decide to rebake the rig, you're going to lose some of these settings. So for now, we've just left it overall the default layer system. The other thing we use all the time is a custom script that basically acts like Motion Builder in Maya. So if I make sure that the rig is not in front, and then I can cycle the controls. So if I grab the root, I can cycle this off and hide the controls really quickly, or I can just be in kind of mixed mode so that the controls are easy to pick, but it's not too visually cluttered. Harder to pick something in the head though, so then we can again cycle here, grab, let's say, the jaw, and hide it again, or the head, sorry. Okay, so now, if you see that the head, in this case, the bear's head is a little hard to select, right, or the neck in this case, you can go in and change through RigOnTheFly, go to settings, and you can increase the controller size. So you can make it whatever size you'd like. And that's going to be the easiest way to do that, right? So now you can go in and change these. And what this is doing is it's changing the bones scale down here. So you can adjust the bone scale yourself, or you can use the controller settings here. I'm going to hide that for now. Okay, so if you've already rigged it and you don't necessarily want to change everything, if we look at the layer system here, we have the source bones, then we have our rig. And if I go to edit mode, and I make this in front again, and I have both of these selected, all right, we've got this layer as well, so I'm going to make sure all my layers are visible. For example, for the spine, if we wanted to fix this so that the spine controls were in the same position that came from Maya, but we want them to be flatter, right? We don't want the controls to already have tilt on them. We can fix that. Blender allows this really easily in edit mode. And with an existing rig, we just want to make sure that we're moving all the controls together. Right? We want to make sure that the control bones and the skin bones move together. And so I'm going to select these bones. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we're in individual origins. And I'm going to hit scale, and I'm going to hit Y and 0. And now, if we go back to our pose mode, you can see that all the controls for the body are flat. Now the root is still flipped around, and it's not flat yet. So we could go ahead and jump back to edit mode and grab the root, and I can do the same thing to it. If we want to leave its orientation exactly the same, I'm going to grab the bones, I'm going to scale Y 0. Okay, so that will flatten it out. Now, if you wanted to change it so that the root of the character or the hips were in world space, then if you look at the axes down here, they're really tiny. We want it to match up with the view, right? We want the world to be Z up, Y forward is across. So if I grab these, we can either move the end here, or we can just rotate the whole thing. So I'm going to grab them, rotate around X 90. And now I'm going to scale Z 0. Okay, so now when we go back to pose mode, you can see that we've changed the orientation of the rig, and it's now going to be, world aligned. Of course, we can go ahead and just rotate this whole thing again, rotate X 90, and now we've got it flat, but oriented to be facing kind of more of a standard up and down axis. Z forward, X across, Y up. So it's up to you if you want to customize and edit the rigging to be flatter or to be more along the lines of what you'd expect. Just make sure you edit both layers. Now that's editing the existing rig. If you want to just start from scratch, I'm going to hit bake rig, and that's going to clear the rigging completely away. And then you can go into edit mode, and you don't have to worry about any layers because there's only one layer of bones. And you can change the size of this. You can up the length. You can show the axes. We can match this to be the world. So if we rotate this back to be X negative 90. Now it's going to be world aligned. And let's see, what else could we do? We could make the ankles flatter as well. So if I grab these and we look at their scale and Z, so scale Z0, that will keep them aligned, but it'll orient them to the world. And now we could do the same thing for the toes. Scale Z0. Okay. So now, and maybe you want to do the head, even though the head is oriented sticking up. We could grab the head, scale Z0. Okay, so we've cleaned this rig up to be more what we want. Now when I go to object mode and we go to RigOnTheFly, I can just hit rig skeleton, and it's going to build all the controls again from scratch. And the sizes are all changed. Also, the rotation order may not be what we want. It's quaternion. If we change the source skeleton, that will inherit, but I've hidden a script inside of here that will automatically set the scale to what the rig previously was, and also set the rotation order for the root to be specific. Again, this was for the way the existing bone orientation was, and all the other defaults for the rest of the control rig. So you can hit play, and it's going to scale everything to be accurate. Now, the one thing you'll notice is because we've changed the root, and the root originally was small, the scale value is no longer accurate. So you can go in and change the scale to this guy. And that way it's a reasonable scale. And then if you look in the script, you can see that for the root, it's 102, and really it needs to be 6. All right, so we could do 6.0. And when I hit play, that fits the scale. Now, you can add other customizations to this, of course, right? If we go ahead and grab these things and move it to a new layer, then you can see that, we selected certain things and we moved, to a layer. So you'd have to add some extra scripting to this if you want to customize what layer gets built. But for now, that's the main one, is just you can edit and adjust the rig to be aligned a certain way for you. And notice that when we go back to our layout here, we've cleaned up the feet rig, and the control shapes are going to be oriented a little differently. So you can also customize those and edit them to be aligned better, or replace the shape. And if you replace the shape, you can again store that in a script, and I'll show you on the Braun rig how we did that. But for the most part, that's what you're going to do to customize the rig. I'm going to turn off the display axes, and then I can cycle this back to being in front off, and then my cycle script works. But now we've got a nice clean control rig. Everything's oriented and everything's kind of customized and aligned, and is maybe a better version of the rig. But the nice thing is, this is all up to you. You can adjust this rig however you want. If we needed to maintain compatibility with Maya, then that wouldn't be what you'd want to do. But because we're just building this rig for Blender, then we can clean this up and improve on it, and iterate on it. And as long as you haven't animated something already, you can make those changes. All the changes in edit mode, of course, are going to influence the animation. And so if that's the case, let's say you've decided you've edited the rig and you've made it better, but you want to get the animation back on here, you can use the Rococo retarget tool to retarget your existing animation from let's say the original rig to this new customized rig, and not lose your work. So you just go skeleton to skeleton and then rerun RigOnTheFly, and you're ready to go. So those are some things that you can do to customize the rigs that we've published and make them your own. And of course, the RigOnTheFly tool is going to give you the options to then switch stuff back to IK. So we can go back into pose mode and grab the feet and switch them to IK, just like we delivered the rig to. And then you can use the reparent option to add a different foot rig under space switch, parent, or parent to copy. Oh, I meant to, let's see. I think I need to remove parent. Parent to copy. There we go. I don't know, I had something selected funny. So you can continue to customize and re-rig as you need to, and then retarget to the rig if you've changed the animation. Now let's talk about custom shapes real quick. So if you look in the script node, if you want to add a custom shape, the first thing you can do is you can basically just extract the shape from the file. So if I go over here to layout and I say settings, controller shapes, what happens is in the file itself, under mesh, let's see, view Blender file, under meshes, now there are all the different RigOnTheFly shapes: sphere, square, cross, circle, and you can drag these out and start using them to replace the shapes in the file. If you look at the bone itself, we go to pose mode, I grab this, and we go down, we can see that the custom object on the bone down here is ROF circle. And if we get rid of that, it's just going to return to be a bone shape. So maybe that's all you want. You can just get rid of that. Or you can look at the ROF circle and then edit it, right? You can create your own if you really like the circle. There is a circle Z. So if I grab this and drag it out into the view in object mode, you can see here it's pointing up and it's aligned. And it's very tiny. So we can rename that object. We jump back to our scenes, view layer. We can call this foot. Foot mesh, and then we can go to our rig, and it's really small because this file is just very large since it was originally sourced from a my file with large unit size. So if we go ahead and grab our rig and go to pose mode, I also need to make sure, okay, now I can pick the custom object and come out here and select it, or I can just search for it, foot. And here you can see that it's aligned and created it from this tiny one. And if we look in the scripting editor, you can see that this pose bone object, it tells you what foot it is, right? L-foot rig custom shape. So over here, we can go ahead and add a copy of this and paste it twice and switch this to R, and it will use the foot. And so now if I run this, it will switch the feet shapes. And when we go over to edit the little shape here, edit mode, there we go, and zoom out so we can see, select everything, rotate, X 90, and then we'll scale it up a little bit. And maybe you want this rotate X 180. There you go. So now you can see that we have the feet controls aligned, and there are our own special foot controls. So you can do whatever you want to them. You can scale it up or change the shape, adjust it however you'd like. But now we have this custom foot shape. I'm going to delete that. And in our script, if we go back here, if I were to go ahead and in the RigOnTheFly tool, grab this guy, and I bake rig, so that gets rid of our rig. If I rerun this script, and I've got the foot object that's still hidden in the scene, it's going to add these to the customized rig. So I'm going to rig skeleton like normal, and then I'm going to run the script. And now you can see if we look down here, we have our custom object foot back on the bone, and we've customized the orientation of the controls. And we can do the same thing for root. All right, I'm going to just pick foot, since we know that's kind of oriented the way we want. And again, I could duplicate the foot and switch it out, but we have this custom shape now, and we can paste it here. And when we rerun the rig, we can change the scale, let's say to 8. And when I run the rig, it's going to change that shape. Alright, so that's the way we can adjust and customize the rig. It's going to be up to you as the user how you want to customize it and how much you want to customize. The idea of the RigOnTheFly tool is that it's a customizable, flexible system that you can kind of work in and out of and customize to be exactly what you need for your animation. So don't be scared to explore the rig and to mess with it. And each of the rig files has a script in here that is basically just a postfix. So if you did bake the rig by mistake and you want to get it back, or you want to try customizing it yourself, then just make sure you rig the skeleton first and then run the script, and it will fit the shapes back to what we kind of shipped with. And then you can customize the configuration again. So totally up to you how you want to use it, but hopefully this helps give you some ideas on how to use the RigOnTheFly tool to customize things, and how to access the shapes that come with it, how to adjust the layers for yourself, and then of course the hidden customization script that we shipped with the rigs, just so that you can kind of get things back to default. And then of course using the combination of our hotkey with the in front turned off is a good way to cycle that. And you can see here, if you are in X-ray mode without in front, you can basically just turn X-ray on and off for now, and it will hide the rig controls, or it'll show the rig controls as a quick cheat. So you can right click over this and add it to a quick favorite, and then you can use your quick favorite to display it as well if you want. So hopefully that helps you out and shows you how to add custom controls. This is how we did the shield control for Braun, and gives you an idea on how to edit the rig and skeleton to be more of what you want. Now, you can also adjust the rolls and all the other things you want to do, but this process is going to give you the most straightforward way to make this more Blender friendly or more animation friendly if you want to continue customizing the rigs. Thank you. Have a great day.